Today I'm continuing with my Food Dehydrating 101 series, and we're going to talk about what equipment you need to start dehydrating. Hi sweet friends, my name is Mary and welcome to Mary's Nest. This channel is about living the simple, self-sufficient life by cooking from scratch, making home remedies, and creating a cozy home with thrift store finds. So if you're like me and you like the simple life, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click on the little notification bell that'll let you know every time I upload a new video. So in my last dehydrating video, I talked about books that can be very helpful to get you started on your journey of dehydrating food. And today I want to talk about the equipment that you need in order to dehydrate food. And I want to start with something that's incredibly simple and very ancient, actually. You can dry food in the sun. Now, if you decide to do this, it's best if you live in a warm, dry climate, which would make sense. And if you do, and you want to experiment with this, you'll want to make something that'll be like a little frame, and this is just a very rudimentary model of what you can do. And they were actually made by my father-in-law, which was very sweet. And there's just 4 pieces of wood, like this, and then just a nail driven in, a long one on either side, and then some screening put here, and just a little duct tape put over so that you would, although this is all finished here, just in case it wasn't finished, you could put a little duct tape there too, just for safety. These are very old, and so they've seen a lot of wear. But in any event, I just wanted to show you what exactly they look like. And as you see, there's really not much to it. You just buy 4 pieces of wood and just, actually my father-in-law used screws there just to hold them together. You could also look in thrift shops for picture frames and then just put, make them larger, a nice large picture frame, and then just put the wire screening over them and put a little duct tape to hold it down. And if you didn't want to use nails or staples, very simple to make these things. Now, if you decide to go this route, you will want some cloth. These are flour sack towels, and these are old. I've had these a long time, and I actually use mine to strain stock, bone broth and whatnot. But the big stores like Costco, Sam's, all of those, they sell these, and I think you get like 12 in a pack. And what you'll want to do is take these and cut pieces that fit the screening, because you do not want to put the food down onto the screening. You want to put your food onto some type of mesh cotton that's very breathable, but at the same time will protect your food from touching, because you don't want it to touch the screening. For various reasons. You don't want that, the metal to transfer to the food. And you also want to use this because this will help keep bugs out. And then after you cut that piece to fit that, then you're going to take your other one. This is going to help further, protect it from any bugs and whatnot. Animals, of course, you might have to be dealing with that. And then you're going to cut another piece. I'm not cutting this because I have an electric dehydrator now, which we'll talk about more in a minute. So I don't want to cut this, but I just want to show you. Then you're going to take another piece and you're going to cut that, and you're going to have that fit over the top, which again will protect it from dust, will protect your food from any dust falling on it, bugs, and so on and so forth. And that's it. And then you just go ahead and you put this in a very warm, dry, sunny space. Best, obviously, depending on what climate you live. I live in Central Texas, so it's very warm here the better part of the year. So we actually have, I think almost a 9 or 10 month growing season. Really, January and February are our cold months, but not months that really go below freezing. I mean, we might have a few frosts, but it is rare. So depending on where you live and what your climate is like, you'll want to definitely do this in the very warm months and keep this in very hot, sunny place. Now, if you live in a climate that is damp, even in the summer, this probably will not work well, I will be honest with you. But clearly if you live here in Texas, Nevada, Arizona, states like that, dehydrating outside in the sun is actually a doable thing, and people have done it for thousands of years. So that's one way to dehydrate food. Now, the next way, stepping up to a little more modern way, is using the oven, and we'll go over that now. Now, when you dehydrate in the oven, chances are your oven isn't going to go below 150 degrees. And in some cases, some ovens like mine don't go any lower than 170 degrees. And I've heard from some people that their ovens don't go below 200 degrees. Now, you can still dehydrate at those temperatures, but you do lose some of the enzyme nutrition in the food that you're dehydrating. But that's okay, because I'm not a 100% stickler for it, because often what you're dehydrating, you're going to reconstitute, you're going to cook, and so on and so forth. So it really doesn't matter if you lose some of the enzyme benefits when it's dried at a higher temperature. And also, I think just being able to store dry food is very important for being prepared, for difficult times or whatever the case may be. Having a pantry stocked with dry food can really come in handy, not just for quick meal preparation, but as I said, just for general preparedness. And a question that people ask me sometimes that I want to share with you here is, can you use, if you have an oven that has a bread-proof option like mine does, can you use that to dehydrate? And that's an interesting question. Some people's ovens, the bread-proof, will only be between 80 and 90 degrees. And when it comes to dehydrating, in order to prevent mold, you really want to make sure that you're dehydrating at 95 or above. Now, my bread-proof option does proof at 100 degrees. However, that may take a very long time to dehydrate certain foods, and I might have to keep hitting the bread-proof option because it has a timer that it goes off and so on and so forth. So I generally don't think that it's the best idea to try to use your bread-proof to dehydrate. But if you've done it and you've been successful, let me know down in the comments, because I'd be interested in knowing, because that is something that does come up a lot with people. So it'd be nice if we had a discussion in the comments to see who's maybe had success with that. In any event, what I want to mention is, first and foremost, in your oven, you need to look and see where your heating element is. Now, my heating element is on the top here. You may have a heating element on the bottom. I do not. This is where I just put a drip tray and some aluminum foil to try to keep it relatively clean. But since my heating element is on the top, what I do if I use my oven to dehydrate is to put a piece of parchment paper, or you could even just take, if you wanted, you could take a baking sheet. I'm sorry for the noise. You could take a baking sheet and use that as a guard. Or, as I said, you can just put a piece of parchment paper up there. This piece is a little big, but I just want to show you what I mean. You just put a piece of parchment paper on this shelf to protect what you're dehydrating from the heating element, because that's very important. You don't want to cook the food. You want to dehydrate it. So you need something to protect the food you are dehydrating from the heating element. Then, once you get that squared away, the next thing that you want to do is pick how you want to go about dehydrating your food. Now, some people will put it on a drying rack just like this. And this is the option that I think is the best, because you get wonderful air circulation. So you just have your cooling rack, and you put your little pieces of food on here, and then you put it right down like that and get a wonderful air circulation. Now, some people do like to put it onto a baking sheet, and they feel that there's enough air circulating underneath it, and they'll just dehydrate like this. I personally don't like to do that. I find that my items do dehydrate better if I just use the cooling rack. Now, that said, what do you do if you want to do a fruit leather? Well, no problem. What you do is you'll just take some parchment paper. I'm just going to move this piece from here. And you'll put your fruit leather on there and then dehydrate it just like that. 1, 2, 3. The other option for using parchment paper on these cooling racks is if you have a very small food that you're trying to dehydrate and you don't want it to stick or get stuck in these little various crevices. Again, you can just put your parchment paper on. But what I would recommend, as opposed to with a fruit leather, you really need to keep this solid. But what I like to do is if you're putting some small type vegetable, maybe you're doing little carrot cubes or a little bit of celery if you want to dehydrate a mirepoix, which we'll show in the future, you may want to just poke some holes, tiny little holes, all throughout your parchment paper to help also increase good air circulation. And then that's that. So that's basically all you're going to do. So say you had apple slices, you just put them on, put them in here, set your oven to the lowest temperature that you can, 150, 170, 200, whatever the case may be. Put your racks on there. Let's see if I've got another one over here. So you just put that like that. If your heating element is down here, you'd put your parchment paper down here, and then you'd put your other cooling rack up here. But since my heating element is on the top, I'm going to put my parchment paper up here to protect what I'm dehydrating. And then I'm just going to close my oven partially. This is important because, again, you want to have air circulation. And then, as I said, my oven, the lowest it'll go is to 170. I'll hit bake, and it'll just the highest it'll go, or I said the lowest it'll go is 170, and I'll leave this ajar and I'll allow my food to dehydrate for 12 hours or whatever the case may be. And I recommend only do this if you are at home and able to supervise this. So we have sun drying, we have oven drying, and now we're going to move on to talking about dehydrating using a dehydrator, which, having done all three, I must confess, using an electric dehydrator is the easiest and the most successful. So if you can, try to find one in your travels. Now I just wanted to bring you back into my laundry room, which is where I keep my dehydrator. And I have an Excalibur, and this really is wonderful. I have no complaints about this. Now I've had other dehydrators in the past, and they're very good too. This probably just dehydrates things a little quicker because of the design, but it's also a little more expensive. And I'll put links in the description below so that you can look at this dehydrator as well as others. But keep your eyes open if you have thrift stores in your area, because I have often seen dehydrators show up at my local thrift store, and especially after Christmas, when I think, and often they look brand new, because I think sometimes people might get them as Christmas presents but not want to be doing any dehydrating. So definitely check out your local thrift stores. Now I wanted to bring you back here for a particular reason. Number one, not just to show you the dehydrator, but also to explain why I keep it in my laundry room. It can be a little loud, so that's something to keep in mind when you're looking for a place where to put your dehydrator. And also, the nice thing is, though, it is very light. It's very easy to pick up. It almost feels like an empty box. Sometimes if you're dehydrating something that's really odorous like onions, or something that's very spicy like jalapenos, you may want to move this into your garage, or even we live in a mild climate, so I can move it right outside. And that's a good thing to do. I will warn you in advance, because it can send a strong odor through the house, which you want to avoid that. Alrighty, well, now if you're hearing any sound, what you're hearing right now is my refrigerator. But I want to turn this on so that you can hear what it sounds like. I do keep it on a dish mat here. It's one of those thicker dish drying mats, and that helps to dissipate some of the noise, but I am just going to turn this on so you can hear it. So as you can see, the fan is going, and it's got a pretty good sound to it. Now, it's along the lines of maybe if you had your dryer running. So that's another reason why I like keeping it in my laundry room, because I can put it on and then I can close the door. And once I do that, and with it on the dryer mat, I really don't notice it. I really don't hear it. And our bedroom is close to the laundry room, and I can even have it running at night, although I tend not to do that. I usually just run it during the day. but even during the day I'm not hearing it, and I think that I might not hear it at night either with the door closed. Now I just want to go over exactly what we've got in here, and the dehydrator comes with a door. It's interesting, they usually sell it like this, and then the door is an extra piece to buy. And maybe now, I've had this for a few years now, but maybe now it comes, with the door with one fell swoop. I'm not 100% sure. However, so that you take the door off, and then you've just got these trays that just pull out like this very easily. And each tray has this mesh screening on it. It feels like plastic. And you can just put your foods on here, and then you just slide them right back in. Now, if you're doing like a fruit leather or something sticky like that, let me just show you. They make these sheets. Sorry, I got my back to you. They make these sheets that are silicone, and you can just put that on. And so if you've got something real small or very wet, or you're doing a fruit leather, these work great. Now you can also, cut some parchment paper to size also. That's also an option, but these are wonderful. And I just have 3. I highly recommend them. Okay. And then you just put these right in like that, and that's it. And you put your door on. And then over here, I have one that does not have the LED readout. This, my dehydrator has the old-fashioned knobs, which I like. And it lists what the right temperatures are for dehydrating. And then you set your temperature here, and then you set your time here. It's very easy, and the timer will just click down and it'll go off automatically once it's done. Now we'll talk more in future videos where we talk about dehydrating. I sometimes pick slightly lower temperatures if I'm dehydrating something that I want to really maintain 100% of the live enzymes. I usually won't go over 110 or 115, but we'll discuss that in detail later. So that's my Excalibur Dehydrator, and I just store my silicone sheets up here on top when I'm not using it. And so this is one option for you when it comes to dehydrating. As we continue to learn about food dehydrating, if you'd also like to learn about water bath canning, be sure to subscribe to my channel and then click on this video where I show you how to make marmalade and how to water bath can it right from start to finish. And I'll see you over there in my Texas Hill Country Kitchen. Love and God bless.